Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that. The video is a 360-degree virtual reality of me riding a horse by the name of La Pochka last week at Woodbine on our epic E.P. Taylor turf course. I ride races every single day, and to watch that video as a jockey, I'm floored because it's just an amazing point of view. You can put the VR goggles on and completely turn around, and at one point there's no one behind me. At the end of the race, they're all behind me. So over there in the Woodbine Tech Lounge, have a gander at that when you get a chance. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. It's an honor. I think Equestricon is a beautiful idea, and I hope to see that it grows year after year. Being so close in partnership with Breeders' Cup, I think, is another step up in terms of getting all the people at the game together to enjoy, embrace, and celebrate horse racing. There have been many times that I have been told that girls can't ride. Not all of it has been blunt and straightforward as that, but it all meant the same thing. I didn't listen, nor was I defiant. I didn't jump up and declare, I'm going to prove you wrong. I just knew in my heart that they were. People ask me all the time what it's like to be a woman in a man's world. You heard that mentioned earlier. And honestly, I wish my response could be, who gives a shit? It isn't, obviously. That's for one reason. It's because I respect what it is to be in my position. To see young women, to see young girls looking up to me because of the position that I'm in, seeing the success that I have had, and they wonder how I've managed. And I try to take the time to explain to them it takes hard work and demanding and earning the respect of your peers. People like to get caught up in the whole gender aspect of it all, but it really has no bearing. I like to tell people to judge on strengths and skills or lack thereof, and no other reason. I know a lot of athletes out there, both male and female, that just aren't very good. And it has nothing to do with their gender. Throughout my career, I've never been one to play the victim. How can I demand to be judged solely as an athlete and then use gender as an excuse? Or worse, an advantage? Please do not come to me and tell me that your horse needs a girl rider, a girl's touch. I understand, I totally get what you're trying to say. Probably the horse is sensitive, needs lighter hands, a little bit of coddling, etc. But there are a lot of male jockeys out there that have those skills and know how to finesse an animal. In fact, being able to be aggressive and strong, or quiet and sensitive, depending on the horse, is exactly what it takes to become a champion jockey. In fact, sometimes you need to be both aggressive and strong and quiet and sensitive on the exact same animal in the exact same race. If I had listened to all of the negative comments, the bullshit along the way, I never would have gotten this far. I wouldn't be closing in on 1,500 career victories. Thank you. I never would have gotten that win picture at Ascot, one of my greatest memories and something I'm very proud of. I never would have had the opportunity to ride on the other side of the world in Japan in their World All-Star Jockey Challenge. And I never would have been able to pair up with Mike Fox to make history as the first female jockey to win the Queen's Plate in 2007, one of my greatest achievements. The key to it all, it's not the adversity, that person telling you that girls can't ride, that defines your endeavors. It's your goal that does. My goal was to be a jockey, the best jockey I could be. I had dreamed this dream from the first time I sat on the horse and probably the first time I ever saw a race run at Woodbine. I had a couple of experiences along the way, both of them being quite bad. Once when I was 13, a friend of my mom's who knew a thoroughbred trainer at Woodbine brought me in one morning, and trainer, scratching at his training chart, looked at me briefly, "Show me your hands." Looked at my feet, "You'll be too big," and went right back to scratching on his training chart. For a 13-year-old girl, that was crushing. He probably doesn't even know who I was or even remembers. Another opportunity I was given was between my 2 years in college. I was a little older, and the dream of being a jockey was still very much alive. It lasted 3 days and 10 horses. I had the opportunity to gallop some horses at Woodbine, and frankly, I was awful, horrible. I had absolutely no control. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a total liability and completely out of control. I'm surprised the horse, other people didn't get hurt for those few days. But because of that, it lit a fire. It stoked the fire of what my passion was, which was horse racing. And I decided I was gonna do this and focus on this and give it everything I could and see how far I could go. So I decided to go where the horses go. Started a breeding farm with the foals, worked my way up as yearlings, maybe break some babies, and then move to a training farm and then on to the racetrack. And it's interestingly enough, during that time that I worked at the breeding farm, I met, although neither of us probably knew it at the time, someone that would be very significant to me later in my riding career. The gentleman's name was Mr. Morgan Firestone. Mr. Firestone was the owner and breeder of the aforementioned Queen's Plate winner, Mike Fox. Now, when I say that I met him, it's a complete overstatement. I knew him as the gentleman, the big client that was coming to the farm to view all of the yearlings prior to the Woodbine's Canadian CTHS sale. It was a big deal. We had gotten the chairs out for him, and I mean, this was just a breeding farm. We mucked the stalls and did the usual day-to-day chores, but on this day, we wore our khakis and our collared shirt, and we had the barns all done up, and we had presented a nice little spot for Mr. Firestone to sit and have a look at these horses. And I remember stealing glances at him out the windows with his entourage, and a couple times while I was holding the yearlings, I have a peek up and have a look at who he was. He was very important that day. I doubt that he even knew that we had met. I doubt there was ever that knowledge that there was that time that I knew who he was and this longing of, the industry, the game, the big players. The first time I sat on that horse, his horse, Morgan Firestone's horse, Mike Fox, for a 5/8 of a mile workout, was one of the most interesting breezes that I have ever done for one simple reason. A gentleman by the name of Hugh Graham. Hugh Graham was the racing manager for his father-in-law, Mr. Morgan Firestone. Most of you probably, I'm not sure if you know Hugh Graham. He is a veteran Canadian equestrian. He represented Team Canada in the 80s in the Olympics, and he is a very, very highly regarded show horse rider and coach. Now, Mike Fox is a massive 3-year-old with a reputation for being very, very strong to gallop. He had just shipped from Florida to his new trainer, Ian Black, and was having his final preparation for his Woodbine debut. Mr. Graham was there, and he was very, very anxious that morning because he was concerned about the details on managing Mike Fox in the breeze. He was convinced that a jockey of 112 pounds would not be able to control the animal, would not have the physical strength to do so. In fact, he actually wanted to have, for his races, a bigger jockey and call in excessive overweights because only someone heavier, bigger, stronger would be able to manage Mike Fox. He was so concerned that he wanted to have a lead pony take me to the pole, break me off, which is not unusual for an aggressive animal, but was adamant that the outrider be stationed and prepared to pull the horse up after the breeze. It was obviously assumed that he would be so out of control, so full tilt, that we'd need extreme measures to pull the horse up and manage this and keep everybody safe. Myself, as with any other aggressive racehorse, I expected to coax him and coddle him to the pole. And once I got him into a nice rhythm, he'd relax, work happily on the bridle, gallop out nicely, and pull up easily. That is exactly what happened, except for one addition. I had subtly called off the outrider, Rob Love. Him and I have very good communication. We work well together. He is the guy that's there to scoop us up if there's any problems, and I had subtly called Rob off. I'm good, I got this. But Mr. Graham was not aware of this little communication that we had, and when he saw that I went past Rob, he frantically ducked under the rail, ran out onto the racetrack, and was trying to get in front of me to help assist pull the horse up. I remember kind of tipping Mike away, going, "What's happening here? He's running out on the track, okay." The thing is, this is a common misconception about riding racehorses, that it's strictly about brute strength. Yes, you need to be fit and strong, but you also require a number of other skills, like soft hands or an assertive frame of mind, and the ability to know when to be aggressive or passive. Mike Fox was an interesting animal, very interesting animal. He was very aggressive, and yes, you needed to be very strong and skilled to manage him in his morning gallops as well as in his races. But the key that I found with him was that he actually lacked confidence. He was insecure. He was this big, bad, intimidating individual, but when you really took the time to get to know him, he didn't know what to do. It was easy to see him train, watch him race, and assume that he was the type of colt that needed to be told what to do. Some people would assume he needed to be manhandled or bullied even, but in fact, he was the opposite. Mike Fox needed to think that he was in charge. He needed to be coddled. In races, it was my goal to make him think that he was running off with me. He was the boss. He was in charge. Our pace, our position was all him, but in fact, I was convincing him that what I wanted was less speed or a different position, when frankly I was happy with exactly where we were. When Mike Fox felt like he was controlling everything, his bravado, his confidence, that is what would build inside him and give him this fire that enabled him to win. Mike Fox was a long shot going into the Queen's Plate. But I remember telling people that I would not trade with anybody. I was confident in my horse, I was confident in his abilities, and I was confident in his personality. People told me that you can't win, which was very similar to girls can't ride. That being said, for the record, people had made their decision on Mike Fox based on his past performances, not his gender. But I still didn't listen. Two very important things happened that day. One, we got the trip that we needed. And two, we both never gave up. I can still remember it. It was 2007, it's years ago. I can still remember the last eighth of a mile. I get tunnel vision thinking about it. We had just passed Jig's Cause, the favorite, on the outside. Alejandro, the front runner, was in front of me, and we were gaining on him. I just buried my head and rode as hard as I could.
They're at the post. They're off in the Queen's Plate. Mike Fox broke alertly from the extreme outside. Alessandro showing early speed, and also right there is Twilight Meteor. To her is down toward the rail as they move in front of us for the first time. And it's Alessandro and Todd Cable. They lead it by a length to Twilight Meteor. Mike Fox on hold in third position. Jigs Cause is fourth through an opening quarter in 23-3. Marchfield's a little wide to the 7/8 pole. De Her will save ground. Into the first turn, Cobrador is in between Jigs Cause and De Her, and way back there is Includas. And it's Alessandro. Todd Cable trying to ration his speed. With 6 furlongs to go, Alejandro leads Twilight Meteor through a half in 47-3. It's an honest pace. And they're into the backstretch. Alessandro leads at 3/4 of a length. The constant presence of Twilight Meteors on the outside second. Mike Fox is 3 wide, and Jigs Cause is 4 wide at the midpoint of the backstretch. Then Cobrador gets a little nudge. De Her's drafting in behind horses. Marchfield is just 3 lengths off the lead, a tight group of 3-year-olds as they head toward the far turn. Alessandro on the front end. Looming large now is Jigs Cause. Jigs Cause draws within a half a length of Alessandro. Twilight Meteor has packed it in. It is Alessandro at the quarter pole. Cable takes a peek back and sees Jigs Cause. Jigs Cause is on the outside of Alessandro at the top of the stretch. And it's Alessandro asked for everything he has. Jigs Cause is on the outside, put the left-handed pressure. Mike Fox in a third position, and Includas is fourth. Alessandro, Mike Fox is coming hard on the outside. Alessandro and Mike Fox on the outside. Mike Fox got it, and Emma-Jayne Wilson becomes the first female jockey to win the Queen's Plate in 148 years, and she does it with a masterful ride aboard Mike Fox. Wow, wasn't that something?
I have been very, very lucky with the success that I have had in this game. I am extremely grateful. I attribute it to hard work and focus. Knowing yourself, knowing what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Use those strengths and work on those weaknesses. There are people that may continue to say that girls can't ride, but they're not who I need to prove anything to or who I need to overcome. Frankly, I don't give a shit. It's not the adversity that defines your endeavors. It's your goal that does. Thank you.